Between Two Wheels podcast, Giro 2023, stage 19, Longarone to Re Cime di Lavaredo. Why do I make it sound Spanish? 183 kilometers. There's a barn burner today, or was it? It was pretty good. We're going to break it down for you. So I thought there would be some good things to talk about. And then the question is who, we'll put this up here, who will win the Giro? How about that Luke Lamperti? Yes, he's been winning. He's getting notarized. Notarized? No, not that. He's been getting noticed from everywhere. Brian, just a personal note to you. I had a dentist, everyone too. I had a dentist appointment this morning at 8:30. I was watching the race. It's a horrible morning to have this. I'm sitting in my car. It's 8:28. The riders finally go right across the line. Brian, you sent me a message. I went to do it and they didn't have good reception. So I didn't get to back, and I was busy all day. So point is, are you drunk again? No, I was a little bit last night. I just started. So no, I'm not, but I haven't eaten really much today. So, it could happen. Thank you, Victor. My favorite Giro videos. You're welcome. Okay, let's get right to it. Go to the Queen stage of the tour. I'm going to back this up here. We're going to look at this. Before we get in there though, it's important to kind of go over a few little, stats here. So King of the Mountains today, Pinot is in the lead over Ben Healy. 227 to 164. Basically, someone's got to come out and clean up all these mountain points today to take the lead, and someone tries and comes close. Okay, just a little bit of David Bais is in there, 144. Derek G down 66 points down there in fifth place, but you know, he said yesterday, can't really do this anymore. Best young rider, Joao Almeida over Lekneusen, 4 minutes behind for Luke Nason. It's not going to be that. Team classification, Bahrain's leading over Ineos. How's that go on the day? Last winners of Queen stage in the Giro, stage 9 Blockhouse was Jai Hindley. I don't know what this is. I'm just reading off of the stat stuff on the live links here. Riders with the smallest sum of results up to this stage. Leonard Kamna, okay. I don't know. Most combative rider per stage, which is interesting. And you look here, Pinot got it in 18, Ben Healy, Joao Almeida, Derek G on stage 14, Derek G on stage 10. Just keep that in mind. What are some other stats we've got going here? Riders in the most kilometers at the front in the first group. Overall, all stages of the Giro. Thomas Champion with 700. Derek G with 687. Tom Squeens there with 582. Leaders in the KOM, we talked about that. Oh, no, we didn't. They're talking about leaders that have been in the KOM. I don't think that's really an important thing. Okay, so the group starts out. I'm just looking through here because they break down riders in the group today, and I may have to take a look at this. Scroll through here. Pinot. Okay, let's just go right to it. It's beautiful. It's up in the Dolomites. I mean, this is what you expect in Italy. Gorgeous stuff. There's a look at one of the jumbo bikes. We're going to talk a little bit about that as we move on because there's some tech things that happen. Sunny day. Riders checking in. Geraint Thomas is looking good. And there's the route. And let's see if they have there we go. There's the profile. We've talked about that. A lot of climbing. What do we say? 16,000 feet of climbing, 5,000 meters on the day. It's going to be pretty brutal to the point where it may just end up neutralizing a lot of stuff. So you had early guys going out on the break there. There was a little bit of stuff with Healy trying to get the King of the Mountains. You had Pinot trying to get up there in the King of the Mountains as well. They were doing a little dueling. And in the end, you got a bunch of these riders up here. You get Derek G. I think you had Larry Warbass, Brutago. I'm going to try to pull up the list. Butrago was up there as well. Let's see if we can find the group in the Derek G, Davide. That's KOM stuff. Damn it. They don't make this easy. Who will win the stage? Alex Bodin was up there. Nicholas Produm, Larry Warbass, American, Stefano Oldani, Vadim Proiskie. That's for Astana. They haven't got a win yet. Santiago Butrago, Patrick Conrad, Magnus Cort, Matteo Bais, Davide Gabriel, Derek G. Once again, always up there. Jose Joaquin Rojas, he's got a stage. Carlos Verona, Michael Hepburn. Okay. And There you go. That's kind of the main parts that has us on the day. And they're splitting up over these last few climbs. They're having some trouble. Larry Warbass said that he just decided to go his own pace. He would be better because he was feeling tired. He knew he didn't have the legs, so he'd be better off if he got up in the front, which he does. And all the while behind, Carlos Verona gets hit, goes down. He got hit by a team car, and that team car got kicked out of the race. Now, I don't know if it's kicked out of the race or just yesterday, and really how that all works. So that was an interesting thing. He gets back up there. Derek G starts coming over the top, getting dropped a few times over these climbs with, what do we got here? What's the kilometers to go? 40 kilometers to go. And he starts picking off these climbs, these KOMs. And he starts to add up his points, and you're going, oh, he can at least get up to second place. He'd have to win the stage, I think, to get past Thibaut Pinot, if that was even possible. You're like, oh, Derek G, it's not really going to be possible. They did GCN talk to, they had Alberto Contador riding alongside the team car of Jumbo. And they were talking about a bike that was on the roof, and it was a 44, I think 10 tooth cog in the back, one by. It was this gravel setup. You've probably seen this. SRAM has this. I think it's probably a 12 speed. And they said, oh, this is set up for Primoz. It's just kind of there. And he asked him, is he going to use it? And they're like, I don't think so. Not less than a minute after they did that, the car pulled over. Primoz gets off. He jumps on the bike, and he's doing this one. Yes, it was hilarious to see. Now, my problem with this is, like, I hope you've ridden it. I'm sure he has. You've ridden this bike a bunch on super steep stuff just to kind of flex it out. I mean, one of the guys, 2 stages ago, for Intiwanti Marchi, Mart or something like that was this. I think he's a Belgian guy. He said he was all decked out for the sprint, comes in there the last 250, starts to go, and his chain breaks. And we've seen this Varek, one of those guys, also chain breaks. I mean, so when you have this much cross on your bike, I'm not an expert on a lot of this, but that would be a problem. The first thing I'm thinking about is this what you want to do in the last, 10K, 20K here? You really want to get on this novelty bike? But anyway, Brian says they took that bike swap secret to the grave. Yes, they did. And weren't telling anybody. And then, there's the whole thing of like the teams doing this just to, not attacking him, is it a mechanical, is it a bikes, and whatever. But this wasn't the time for that. And I was listening to the cycling podcast yesterday, and Brian Nargard tend to think that this was going to take off. The second to last climb was really going to shake things up. And the problem with it, you look at this and you go, I don't know, that last steep climb, I think it's just too much. You don't go, especially at altitude. And this led to the place where basically you're not going to get much action until the last little bit. Let's see what they have here. So here you go. Here's the one by, I think it was a 40 in the front, a 44 plate thing in the back. So it was just all for climbing. And the last 20K pretty mumuch was that. Here's the group up front. It started to do a little rain on them. You got Buitrago. You've got Magnus Cort Nielsen up there, not a climber. You've got Derek G and then Hepburn. Now, Buitrago's I think he's won a stage in the Giro before, or at least the Vuelta. He goes uphill just fine. He's all of like 100 pounds. He's a tiny guy, and none of these other ones are much like that at all. By the way, if you listen to GCN and you hear Sean Kelly say the word fatigue, it actually, every time that guy has too much fatigue, he says fatigue in a way that it makes it sound like he's calling him fat. And it almost is always, he was talking about Hepburn as they're showing his ass, especially as he was behind Buitrago. It didn't bode well. A little bit of rain. What they have these three going up here being Buitrago, Magnus Cort Nelson, Derek G. They start distancing Hepburn a bit. The main group is going just fine. And I will say on the day, Lawrence Laplus of Ineos did a fantastic job. We talked yesterday about domestiques in the mountains and Sepp Kuss doing such a great job, and he was phenomenal, and he was. But sometimes your day is just like this. It's Lawrence Laplus just doing the old Sky thing of just setting a pace where and it's not as exciting, right? You kind of were hoping that, me at least, that the teams would get so decimated that you didn't have this kind of support, where maybe it's just a little bit different. And by the way, I'm going to read an article a little bit later about Garrett Thomas. and him talking about the pacing on the climbs yesterday was what he considered a bit odd. Anyway, we're getting here 6.6 to go. Derek G just decides I'm going to go. He leads these others behind, and you get Hepburn spit out. You get Court Nelson spit out. Court Nelson goes first, then Hepburn, and then Buitrago is the one that's trying to reel him in. The last 3 kilometers are really the steep sections of this race. The slope is 10% on this point, but it gets even worse to the point where Buitrago just kind of has him there. You can tell. I mean, just Derek G is almost paperboying semi up this climb. He's a bigger guy. And you're like, come on, Derek, that'd be great to have you finally get this win. Whereas Buitrago is just slowly metronome-like bringing him in. And as soon as he does, with 1.6 to go, he gets right up to his wheel and then immediately jumps him. And you can tell Derek's just like, okay, fine, done. But then Buitrago did not let up. He got the win quite nicely over Derek G. I think it was 30, 40, 50 seconds or so. And we'll take a look about that. Inside the last kilometer, well, these guys are in a kilometer. There's about 2 to go. You finally saw some riders. Now, Derek Deplouse gets dumped off before that final section. Then they have a little bit dip down, and then they hit the last 3. And before that, he actually catches back up, comes and does a little bit of work. And then Timo Aronson of Ineos takes over. And at one point, he jumped a little bit and he created a gap. And it was like, are you going? Are you not? And I think he just got a little too excited because it didn't look like he was actually trying to attack. Then you saw João Almeida kind of come to the fore. And then you saw finally, and you never saw actually Sepp Kuss having to do any work here. Roglic then attacks. It's a nice little attack on the left-hand side. João Almeida had been sitting on the front. Roglic attacks, and immediately they distance João Almeida. And he just doesn't have that. He's, once again, we talked about him, a slow burner. But I was pretty impressed with Geraint Thomas. He jumped up to him. He got pretty quickly. There was no real difficulty for him getting right up to Roglic's wheel. And there they go. Now, not too long later, João Almeida actually makes his way back up to the trio. And then he does something kind of weird. I don't know if he went and said something to him. He came beside Roglic, looked like he was saying something to him, but then he goes past and kind of sits on the front. And it was a bit of an odd thing for someone who had just been dropped and you're in the steep section. I don't know if it was trying of a little boisterous thing like, look, I'm still here, buddy. But, you know, when you're still steep, it's probably not the way to go. Meanwhile, up front, Buitrago gets the win. He gets to post up. Good for him. Oops. And Derek G does get to come in second place. Meanwhile, back here inside the last kilometer, João comes back to them. So does Caruso, comes back to them with Bahrain. He had been kind of off the back there. And then Geraint Thomas hits out pretty hard. Now, that last kilometer here, last 800 meters was pretty steep. So Geraint Thomas jumps, and you're like, okay, it's in the last, and they easily distance João Almeida. But it looks like Roglic has a bit of a tough time trying to connect to Geraint Thomas. And matter of fact, they're going up here to the line, and it's like almost about 200 to go. And there's actually a situation where Roglic is kind of just, you can see it here. He's just kind of sitting up and not really having it. And Geraint Thomas pushes on. And then you can see it's the last 200 meters and Roglic hits the afterburners. I don't know if you guys have done this where you're going to the top of a climb and you know it's there, you can see the distance and you just go, I'm going full in, and you're anaerobic and you're tired, but sometimes you could just push to this extra little bit with a kick, and Roglic does so. Now, the big problem up front is you've got Magnus Cort Nielsen, you've got G and Buitrago already going 1-2 across the line. There's a bonus, I think it's 3 seconds or 4 seconds. I think it's 4 seconds. 10-6-4, I think is what it goes. And for third place, Magnus Cort has a sprint. He decides that he's going to kick on here. Meanwhile, Roglic goes, and in the last 10, 30 meters here, Geraint Thomas just kind of goes flat, and he lets a little bit of a gap go. Roglic can't get across and beat Magnus, who decided to suddenly have legs here. So, but he does get a 3-second bonus or a 3-second gap on Geraint Thomas, but he would have got 7 if he would have been able to just do a bike throw past on Geraint Thomas. Geraint looked great. 50 seconds or so, 30 seconds or so, I guess, behind that, João Almeida comes across, Thibaut Pinot comes across. Sepp Kuss comes across as well. Butrago, G, they had their day. Santiago Butrago gets his win. Derek G, 51 seconds back. Magnus Cort, 146, same time as Roglic. 3 seconds back from there at 149 is Geraint Thomas. João Almeida, 209. So he's, 50, he's 10, 20 seconds or so, almost there. Damiano Caruso comes in with him. Arensman, he decides to push to the finish. Thibaut Pinot and Rubio Reyes. What about the overall? Well, there you go. There's Geraint Thomas looking good there. 26 seconds now over Roglic. Could have got another 4. That might be the thing that we look to at the end here. João Almeida in third at 59. Damiano Caruso. And by the way, I didn't mention it. You had Eddie Dunbar had a bit of a rough day. He came off a little bit earlier than the Caruso and Thibaut Pinot, and they were all pushing for his spot. So he did drop down a spot there from 4th. Damiano Caruso went over the top of him and has him by 40 seconds or so. There you go. That was kind of the recap of the stage. But let's take a look at a few things here. Let's go to the Giro results. Like we said, we talked about this. Who didn't start? Q Carthy didn't start the day. He's the only one here. Look, Danese came in 44. So all these guys, looks like they made the time cut. No problem. Hugh Carthy, not starting the day. You can see in the last few days, he's had a tough time. He's a guy that goes well in the steep stuff. He's, finished in the Giro on the top, 11th before. He's got 3rd on the Vuelta. So he can go well, but just had a kind of a rough time here. Meanwhile, his teammate gets in there 3rd place, 146, Magnus Cort. So it's quite the big deal. One guy, let's take a look at, how about all the Americans? And by the way, I never did check when our buddy Riccatello dropped out, but super young. I hope they might have just pulled him because of his youth. Sepp Kuss comes in there, gets 12th place, 249 back. Larry Warbass had been in the break, 358. McNulty, he didn't do much today Jay Vine got spit out early too. So you saw a little lack of help for João Almeida when he actually needed it. Once again, last 2 days he needed it. He got it from Jay Vine yesterday. Jay just couldn't go as deep today. You had Ineos up there and ready and to help if Geraint needed him. He didn't need him. What are you going to do? Help him across the finish line there at the last bit. You had Sepp Kuss up there ready to help. Roglic didn't need it. He attacked. He looked pretty good. Riccatello is still in here. I'm sorry. 740. That's solid. 748 back today. That's a good day for him. Joe Dombrowski, 844. What about overall? Riccatello, he's out there in 57th place. It's not bad for first time. It's super young guy. Will Barta's still out there. So it looks like we got all the Americans. I don't know how I missed that. So let's take the big one on the day though. Derek G moves all the way up 200 points, moves all the way up into 2nd place. Butrago, how many points did he get today? He was 20. It doesn't say. I'm curious about how many points that he would have got for the finish if it would have made any difference between 1st and 2nd place for Derek G. But he's going to solidify that. Well, there's probably still mountain points up for grab tomorrow. But he went up to 2nd place. He's got a decent gap on Ben Healy. He might be a podium for that. I don't know if they have a podium for that. Points, not going to do much there. Teams, Bahrain still in there. And there you go for the overall. Let's do some interviews before I do a little. Actually, let me do this. Let's read this article. Oh, they shut it down. I was able to read the whole thing today, and then they put hey, you got to pay for this, and then I got to pay for it. But Geraint Thomas said, I don't trust anything that that guy says, being Roglic, talking about yesterday where he was having a tough time. Supposedly, Sepp said that he wasn't faking it, but a lot of teams were saying on the radio, oh, he's hurting. And Thomas actually says that Formula, I think, came up and was saying, hey, Roglic is hurting back there. And Thomas is like, I'm not believing anything of it. Don't do it. And he goes, not too long later, he was attacking. He was also saying that in the when Roglic and I think Sepp Kuss were up there doing all their damage. I think Roglic, I think it was him, not Sepp, that was doing like 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off. So he would go super hard for 10 seconds, kind of back it off, and then go super hard. Instead of attacking, he was just trying to do a change of pace. And it was interesting. He's like, he doesn't normally ride like that. He goes, that's how the Colombians always ride. That's their pacing, not what you see here. Then he also did say on the downhill that Sepp Kuss got in between Roglic. It was Roglic, Sepp, and then Geraint Thomas, and they were going some hairpins. He's like, Sepp, he goes, I was looking for it. He goes, Sepp Kuss could have just put on the brakes, formed a gap because Roglic was going pretty hard, and I would have had to, chase around. And he's like, fair play, though. He didn't do that, and he goes, that's pretty good. He had some nice things to say. Anyway, you like to see guys that don't necessarily ride dirty, or do you? I don't know. A lot of you do like Cavendish. Oh, did I say that? Let's go to some interviews, and then we'll talk about tomorrow. Buitrago, we're not going to be able to understand him. Let's see João Almeida at the start of the day. Anybody interesting here? The Stornik, he gets in the break, but how about Roglic, the start of the day, and see what he has to say.
Yeah, ready.
Primoz, Big Smile was a really good stage yesterday. Can you take us through it a bit?
Yeah, it was nice, huh? It was some racing in the end, and yeah, I had legs. It was fun.
And what that mean about 3 days ago when you had a bit of a bad moment? What was it?
I prefer good moments, huh? So yes, the last one was good. So I'm optimistic for now upcoming of today and tomorrow.
And how to do it today? You will try to attack from far. We have a really hard stage.
Just to come as fast as possible at the finish line, huh?
But you have to attack from far, from Passo Diao, or you have to wait a bit more?
I don't think so. I mean, just the final is so strong, so hard. The last 3K. So yeah. There we'll see for sure who again has the legs and who not.
Have you seen any weakness in Geraint Thomas? Do you see something you could exploit?
No, so far he's super strong. Huh? So yeah, hope I also have the legs. Huh?
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
All right, you're not going to give much away. Hey, what's your game plan for today? Well, let me tell you. Let's see. We haven't heard from Jack Haig for a while. Let's see what he's doing.
Good, thank you. And you? Are you enjoying this Giro?
I'm enjoying it much more now that we have some sunshine. But I'm quite tired today, I'm not going to lie.
What do you think will happen today?
Oof, this is a good question. I hope everyone is quite tired after yesterday. Yesterday was a really hard, intense stage. I tried super hard at the beginning of the stage to try and make the breakaway, and then I paid for that a little bit in the end. But I hope today we can get through, look after Damiano. Unfortunately, he slipped down from 4th to 5th. But I hope we can consolidate that and go into the time trial in a good position.
Do you think there will be some team, maybe you're also interested in putting a teammate at the front early in the race to get a relay?
Yeah, of course. There's always that possibility of, for example, Jumbo or UAE trying to get someone in the breakaway to then wait later on for either Almeida or Roglic to take across to. But I think also today is so hard that it can be difficult to arrange this.
So far, everybody almost had a harder day, a day when you struggle.
Yeah.
Do you think it's still possible to have some surprises today?
Of course, I think whenever you do more than 5,000 meters climbing, at the end of a Grand Tour like this, there's always a possibility that someone has a bad day. And if you have a bad day today with climbs like Passo Diao and then the Re Cime climb to finish with, they're super hard and you can lose quite a bit here.
And you think it could be Geraint Thomas who has a hard day today? Or?
To be honest, I think Geraint would really like to have a stage win. So I almost expect that Ineos could control it if the breakaway is not too big. Because as much as he wants to win the GC, I think he would also like to finish the Giro with a stage win, and especially in pink.
Thank you, Dick.
That's an interesting point. So what we haven't got yet is, I believe, a stage win from Geraint Thomas. Roglic, João Almeida did get one there, so I'll look back on that, but I don't think Roglic got one either. And you would expect, the state that usually doesn't happen, but it's just been different. They've been trying to give the jersey away so much that they're not necessarily chasing down everything. Victor says amazing weather at the Giro. Yeah, for the Giro. True, especially up in the mountains, it could be a bit dicey. Interview at the finish. Let's go to. Do we want to see Derek G? Because I think he's gonna cry. Sure. Let's see.
Derek G, another second place in the Giro, another one. But what a performance today! I know you raced for the win, but put some words on your stage today and your ride today.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to go in the break for the Chiclamina points so I could secure second at 65K, and then they gave us a bigger and bigger gap because I thought for sure it was a GC day. And then I had to, just try and wrap my head around going to the finish again. Because the legs were done, yeah.
Can you talk us through those minutes after the line here?
Well, I had no idea where, I knew Buitrago was gone as soon as he caught me. The acceleration was ridiculous. And I didn't know where everyone else was. I didn't know where the GC guys was, so I just went full to the line, and then I guess it's kind of high up here or something, not a lot of oxygen, so that hurt for sure.
Put some words on your performance personal. I mean, it's Santiago Buitrago. He weighed 60 kilos. Derek, you almost won Cima Coppi today.
I think it's going to take a while to sink in. Yeah, I can't even wrap my head around it.
Derek, you're second in the Maglia Azzurra, you're second in Maglia Ciclamino, but everyone remembers you as the breakaway Derek G.
I'm glad I moved into second in Azzurra. That's cool. But I mean, if I stay in the peloton, there's no chance I win, right? So I might have gotten second a lot, but at least I gave myself a shot.
Great ride today. You're beast, mate.
Thank you very much.
And then he goes and cries. Literally, I mean, that's what happens. And you feel for the guy, but he shouldn't be too bad. Let's do, I wish we could hear Thibaut because he's going to be whining here. Last one, Roglic. Let's see what he has to say.
You attacked twice, but only Gerard couldn't follow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow what happened?
It was fun. And tomorrow we go full again, huh? Thank you. Yeah. It's good, huh? Got a bit legs back, so tomorrow we go full, huh?
Confident for the time trial tomorrow? I too.
I mean, if I wouldn't be confident, then I don't start. So of course, the best one at the end wins. Cheers.
All right, he's not got much to say there. And I was wondering, you have the Planche de Belfi time trial, which is not as extreme as what we have going tomorrow. Let's take a look at this profile. I'm going to use one off of Cycling News because I think it actually shows it a little bit more extreme looking than look at that, than how you see it on the Pro Cycling Stats. About 10 kilometers here. There's a little, up, a little down. It starts to drag up and then it just kicks. And they say it's a wall. I mean, it's ridiculous. It just doesn't show all the percentages here. That's the other one. Here we go. So these are, I think the percentages, 15% in this section, 3.9, it drips down to, and then it hits 11.9 again. And it's kind of like the Angliru, 7.5 kilometers of this stuff. Remember, he was, where was he in Norway for the World Championships up that time trial? Now they used time trial bikes, so it wasn't as extreme. Some people were doing handoffs, some weren't. But that's kind of, Roglic had a decent day there too. So was that a Dumoulin win on the World Championships? I'm trying to remember that. Someone wanted to give that to me. Brian says he had 4 second places and second in the 2 Jersey fights. They used to have a Inter Giro, which was kind of some weird races within the race. And he probably would be leading that if they had that. Kind of a bummer, but look, it'll be interesting to see what we can go to Derek G on Pro Cycling Stats, just to take a look at all the results he's had previous to coming in here. I mean, I didn't know much about him. I think I'd seen his name, but not really anything there. So let's move that. Let's bring in this other page, Pro Cycling Stats, Derek G. So 2021 X Speed United Continental Team. And then he went to Israel Cycling Academy and then Premier Tech. So he's been with them, last year and this year, and he's signed with them through 2025. Top results, it's all Giro. National championships in Canada, 3rd. Grand Camino, okay, 5th. That's in 2022. Cronos das Naciones, I think that's a time trial thing, so time trial is okay, I guess. World Championships, ITT, he was 19th in 2022, so he goes pretty well. Maybe they picked him up because of his time trialing. Tour de Beauce, 2019, he was 5th overall. Tour de Normandy, KOM. So nothing super exceptional, but look at this here. Visits this week. He's up from what he was last week. 21,916 separate visit. The count, not that's how many page impressions. That's what they count all the people that have had visits to their web, to his results page, and he's up by almost 22,000 places from where he was before. So obviously a lot of notoriety. People are checking him out, and look, we'll just go here. It's 50th in the opening time trial, 161, 50th, 68th, and then he hits 18th, 50, 97, then boom, second place, 44. Boom, second place, 49th, 80th, fourth, second, 90, 38, 87, fourth, second. So as far as top 10s go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and actually those are top 5s. 6 top 5s. That's solid stuff here. Last thing I want to do, let's take a look at where's Roglic. There we go. So his top that he's had in this race is 3rd on stage 16, 4th today, 5th. So he doesn't have the results that Derek G does. That's really what I'm trying to get at here. I'm kidding, folks. I'm kidding. Okay. Tomorrow we looked at that stage. I don't know. You guys are probably going to go for a ride. I would like to go for a ride. I might get up and just do commentary as it's happening. Maybe do it on a Spaces, Twitter Spaces, TJANK. Look for me there, or Between Two Wheels podcast. And maybe we'll do that. Do a little live thing. I don't know. Who's your pick? This is almost too steep for it to really be that great, which means, because like you've seen this with the Angrelu and some of these others, and like this one here, when it's so steep, you don't necessarily get big backs of time because it's just too much, unless you just blow up. So it could come down to it. I mean, I think it, we've had, Roglic has had problems with time trials, but then again, who knows? Geraint Thomas is flying. He hasn't had a bad day yet. I think Geraint Thomas is going to get the win overall, but I think Roglic is going to take some time back and it's going to make it close. That's my prediction. See you tomorrow, folks.